Is white supremacy not a global issue? We've seen white supremacist attacks that were clearly domestic terrorism. Experts, in fact, the acting AG, Jeff Sessions, even called some of these incidents domestic terrorism incidents. The Emmanuel AME Church shooting of Black Americans in Charleston and the Tree of Life synagogue shooting in Pittsburgh of Jewish people, those were only designated and charged as hate crimes, not domestic terrorist incidents. Mr. McGarrity, why did the FBI not believe that these incidents were domestic terrorist incidents?
Because they're white, AOC. They've done probably 100 pieces highlighting the lack of DoD funding to combat far-right terror and how prevalent right-wing terror is in this country. But I'm glad that a congressperson is now also asking these questions.
You're not going to find an actual charge of domestic terrorism out there. If you look at Title 18, right? If you're looking for...
Well, it says here that, but at the San Bernardino shooting or the Orlando Pulse nightclub shooting, they were designated and charged as domestic terrorist incidents.
I wonder why. I wonder why the FBI doesn't have an issue classifying an act of targeted, calculated violence as terror when it's done by Muslims. Wow, this is a really tough one. I don't know.
I'd have to go back and look. They were charged likely with, if there was a connection to a foreign terrorist organization, it would likely fall under 18 U.S.C. 23 A or B.
Doesn't it seem that because the perpetrator is Muslim,
that's not correct. That has nothing
that
to do,
the designation would say it's a foreign organization?
That's not correct. That is not correct.
What FBI counterterrorism expert McGarrity is trying to explain here is that there isn't a specific statute created by Congress to pursue white supremacist terror as terror. This is by design, because white supremacy, or white nationalism, does not create a threat to the established order. To be charged with terrorism, a person has to be suspected of acting on behalf of one of nearly 60 groups that the State Department has designated as a foreign terrorist organization.
Homegrown violent extremists, most of the people we arrest in the United States, homegrown violent extremists, self-radicalized, born in the U.S., doesn't matter what religion.
But the Orlando Pulse Club shooter meets those qualifications.
He was worked as an international terrorist because he was following under the definition.
But he was homegrown and self-radicalized.
Extremist cases. How we work homegrown violent extremist cases under the global jihad, we worked under international terrorism. That is correct.
I love this answer because he's basically saying, look, neo-Nazis, the KKK, and other crypto-fascist or alt-right organizations might operate exactly like ISIS does when radicalizing white kids and inspiring them to commit acts of terror, but they're not under a global jihad umbrella that we've created exclusively to justify all of the foreign intervention that we do overseas, so we just can't simply allocate comparable resources to the admittedly bigger problem of white nationalism here in the US. Great.
Is white supremacy not a global issue?
It is a global issue.
So why are they not charged with foreign
Because the United States Congress doesn't have a statute for us for domestic terrorism like we do on a foreign terrorist organization like ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Al-Shabaab.
Now this is also kind of false. After all, 6 months into Trump's presidency, a report was prepared by the FBI's Domestic Terrorism Analysis Unit on Black identity extremism, a completely made-up concept which allowed the FBI to designate Black activists protesting and organizing against deadly police practices as terrorists worthy of surveillance. So obviously they have no problem monitoring and even apprehending members of groups they find to be a threat that have no affiliation with international terrorism. White supremacy, white nationalism, and far-right anti-government extremism has always been a larger national security threat than Muslim radicals or whatever designation you'd like to give ISIS. If you actually want to save people's lives, I suggest you start by monitoring and dealing with hate groups the same way you would with a bunch of minorities you believe are up to no good. And I'm not talking about restricting people's civil liberties either. I'm Hasan Piker. If this double standard upsets you, please share this video with your friends and leave your thoughts in the comments below. And this has been The Breakdown. You like this video? Great. Never miss another breakdown video by hitting the subscribe button below, and also ring the bell to get notified whenever we publish a new one.